So, as we're just kind of checking in with each other here, I'm talking about the solar eclipse, the powerful solar eclipse that's coming up on Monday morning. Monday morning Pacific Standard Time, it's around 8 a.m. and it is at 23 degrees of Sagittarius, and it has a lot of very active things happening in it. We often say, depending on how close the eclipses are to the nodes, that's how powerful they are. And this one is within 3 degrees. Actually 4. I think the nodes are at 19 now. So they're within 4 degrees. So it's a powerful total solar eclipse. Total solar eclipse. A solar eclipse happens at the new moon. A new moon total solar eclipse brings in new potent energy. What's unique about this one, however, is that it brings in powerful new energy in the ways that we look at our past, our collective past together, because it is on the south node of the moon. What's interesting about this south node of the moon eclipse is it highlights our collective past together, any of our karma together, any of our non-truths or delusions that we need to clear out and make space for fresh new truth in our lives. Sagittarius is the archer, always reaching and stretching and expanding us into the truth, into whatever we need to transform ourselves and each other. It is the teacher and the student of the zodiac. And when we have a total solar eclipse with the teacher and the student of the zodiac, we are going to be learning some things. We're likely going to be teaching ourselves and having new ahas and insights coming in. So you really want to know where 23 degrees of Sagittarius is in your chart. And if you don't know, pull up your chart. You can pull it up for free on my website, abigailbarella.com, or you can pull it up on Astro and just glance at where your Sagittarius house is and where 23 degrees of Sag is. And that will give you information about where you personally are bringing in fresh new information, where you're being led yourself to bring more truth and more harmony and more expansion to your own life so that you can bring it to others. Okay, so there's so many different transits happening with this total solar eclipse. So overall, this eclipse is about your own expansion, where you're being led to be your own teacher, where you're being led to teach others, and where you're being led to look at things in a different way. One of the things about Sagittarius is it has to do with truth, and it's going to show us where we've been hiding from the truth in our own lives. And because of that, it can be a little bit of an intense one, because it's going to highlight and show us our past. And because it's on that south node of the moon, it might bring up memories, relationships, issues having to do with the past. And it could have to do with people who you considered teachers or students of yours, or peers of yours, or people you went to school with. It really does bring that in. And Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. And Jupiter changes signs every 12 to 13 months, typically 13 months. And it is going to be changing signs 5 days after this eclipse. So really powerful expansion that we're in. And as we have Jupiter moving into Aquarius this same month that we're having this powerful eclipse, it is really ultimately bringing new light information, new activations of our DNA. This idea that we have this sleeping DNA in our systems that doesn't have a purpose, this time period is activating all of that. So be aware of where you're being led to do healing work, where you're being led to be. I know I'm being called to be out in nature more, and it's been beautiful weather here, so I've been able to do that. And because of that, I feel so revitalized. So just pay attention to what's bringing you to life at this time period. And just as good information, what's making you go a little sleepy? What's making you feel not so awake? What's making you feel icky? What's making you feel like you don't have control in your life? Go ahead and just turn that off, unplug from that. So this solar eclipse and this time period in general, from the 14th So Monday, well, from now, basically, of course, my phone's going to start blowing up with group texts. I hate group texts. Okay, so this time period is really activating and bringing you into this new way of learning, growing, teaching, and expanding, where you're being called into expansion in your life, and where you have missed out on that or have turned away from that because you're scared or because it's not comfortable. And so this time period, it's like there's no choice. You're just jumping, right? And so that's why I have solar powered starting this month on the 21st at the time of the conjunction, the great conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn on the 21st of December. I'm not going to talk about that in detail because I'm going to be talking about that in my program. And also I've talked about it in posts, so you can go to my profile and read those. But I'm talking about the solar eclipse and I'm trying to stay focused on it. But as an astrologer, everything is connected. So it's very difficult for us astrologers to just stay with one thing or one transit because it connects to this other thing and it connects to this other thing. It's this big web of information. And one of the things I always tell people is that you don't have placements in your chart. So you don't have them. You're working with them. So if you have a lot of Sagittarius or Gemini, you're going to be feeling this one because you have a lot more work to do with it. Also, I'm not going to get into all of the things, but any transits this is making to your chart, you're going to want to pay attention. Like, I know for me, it's an exact trine to my rising, right? So it's like any information in your own chart, it's going to be activating and bringing into focus more. And that's why it's so helpful to get a full chart reading to just go into this even more. Now, with solar powered that we're starting on the 21st, we're literally going to be pulling apart your chart for the whole year. Like all these noises, it wasn't loud when I started this video. So if you're wanting to know piece by piece the whole 360-degree pie chart, your whole circle of being, your whole circle of coming back into your source being, join solar powered. It's really the best way to learn your chart in a full, in-depth way for you to utilize it and grow from it and work with it. Back to the solar eclipse. Making an exact trine is Mercury in 20 degrees of Sagittarius, which is conjunct this solar eclipse, which means it's highlighting information, commerce, it's all Gemini stuff, which Gemini is opposing, right? So when Mercury is in Sagittarius, since it's opposing it, it's kind of in its fall position. It doesn't really like being there. And so because of that, we're having some tricky stuff around information right now. I don't know if you guys have noticed. And that really requires our own discernment and our own ability to tap out of whatever's not serving us and really go deep within to what feels true and what feels right to us. And many of us are pretty alarmed at what isn't working anymore and what doesn't feel right or true anymore. It's kind of alarming, right? And so because of that, it requires us to go within, and it requires us to really tap into our own intuition in a way that we've never had to before. This is like a whole new level. And Mercury is really highlighting that confusion that can come up. And again, just to reiterate that there's all sorts of things being thrown our way right now more than ever. And so it's really important to just come back to center, come back to self, and call your energy back to yourself during this time period. Now, Mercury is also making an exact trine to Mars, Mars has been in Aries for a long time. I think it's since August, and it will be finally moving out in January, but it's still there. Mars is in Aries in its home sign, and that's where it really likes to be. And so what is Mars all about? Mars is about our initiating energy, our warrior energy, our body, our heads, our how we initiate into the world, our aura, our essence, our energy. And when Mars is in Aries, it's really activating who we truly are at our core. Who are you at your core, and what's being illuminated to you about who you are and who you've always been, but you have forgotten. And so as this time period comes into focus even more, because Mars is going to be moving out of Aries soon, but it's still there, and it's making an exact trine to Mercury, processing, communication, who we need to tap into, ourselves, our soul, our essence. So that trine is highlighted at this solar eclipse, and a trine is ease. It's like trying to be easy here. It's everything else, the disinformation, the disease, the, disunity, is that a word? Disunification, the ways that we are choosing to process things at this time is very simple, but we sometimes choose the most complicated ways to look at things because of how we've been conditioned societally to look at things. So that all, if we can just look at the simplicity of things, how we really are connected, how we really all do truly want most of the same things, it becomes really simple. And if we can stay focused on that, everything else gets simple. Because if we focus on how simple things actually are, that draws in more simplicity to us. When we focus on how confusing and how hard everything is, we're drawing in things that are more difficult and more hard. So let's just focus on the simplicity here, even with this, because sometimes I get it complicated. The last transit I want to talk about, hold on one second. Paco, come here. My dog wandered off for a minute. Paco, come. Okay, so I talked about Mercury and I talked about Mars, and those were definitely two of the things that I wanted to stay focused on. I also wanted to focus on the South Node. I did. So, and Mars is also squaring at this time, and it's like a slower transit. It's squaring Pluto. Mars square Pluto, that's not fun. That is not fun times. But Pluto has to do with activating our pain body, hopefully with the hope that we'll heal it, activating the pain body so that we can get to our personal power. So when Mars is squaring Pluto, are we going to be courageous in our lives? Are we going to actually look at the things that we need to look at in order to heal? Are we going to go into the pain and know that we're going to come out even stronger? Or are we going to hide? And are we going to create more harm in that, right? And I just had a post about this a little bit, so I'm not going to go too much into it. Okay, well, then there's that. Just one more last thing that I want to talk about. Yeah, we're in the archaic degree of Saturn in Capricorn as well, and soon Jupiter will be there as well. And so I talked about the test period. We're going to graduate on the 21st. Graduation's coming up, guys. We'll have a party. That's called Solar Powered. And if you want to learn more about that, go to the link in my profile. That's our party. That's our celebration. And then we can we can get into the work, the nitty gritty that needs to happen to the next level, right? We're always up leveling, right? And so, but the test period that we're in right now is real. It's real. Are we going to go back in time and go into our wounds and into our stress to just keep spinning out? Or are we actually going to be stoic and make good decisions and move forward in our lives and look at where we've used, substances, where we used our screen time to disengage from our own lives and not participate in our own lives? Or are we going to really make some big shifts? And so I'm so excited for those of you. I know so many of you that are making huge shifts in your life. I know so many of you that are having big tests, big tests, like so big that my heart is open to how big this test is, okay? And I am there, and I feel it, and I know it is challenging on every single level. But we're going to do it. We're going to break through. And it's very exciting. So on the 14th, when you're setting intentions, do remember where this is happening in your chart, where 23 degrees of Sagittarius is happening in your chart. And even though we're setting intention and we want to state it as if it is, we also want to be aware of what we're dropping off from our past, what we are no longer. So when you're stating your intentions, you might just want to throw in a few that are truths about what you're leaving behind. I am no longer yada, yada, yada. I do not identify with yada, yada, yada. Like, state it, claim your truth, because ultimately no one can tell you for you who you are, what you're doing, and what you're meant to do with your life, because this is your one marvelous life and you get to decide. You get to choose. So I'm really excited to see what this solar eclipse brings to you. Let me know in the comments if you're already feeling it, because we are in that energy already. And lastly, I'm always like going through like the list of things that I forgot to say, but it's okay. I can add to it after. Lastly, I would just say that since with the solar eclipse, there's often energy of new things coming in and old things going out, and just stay open to what you need to let die and what you need to let go of, so that you can welcome in new fresh energy. And that's probably the most important thing. You have to be willing to let go in order to receive and get back. I just hope you all are doing well and you're taking good care of yourselves and your mental space and your bodies. And if you have any questions, reach out to me. And if you want to work together, reach out as well. If you haven't already done the free solar powered challenge, I highly recommend doing it. I am really happy that it helps so many people. And it's just, all you have to do is click the link in my profile and you can go right to it. And that's it. Take good care. Bye-bye.